this show. We think we're doing it.
Wow.
This match. First off, we always wait for people to jump on before we start talking about the game for real. But we have two things counting against us. Three things. One, I can't imagine anybody watched till the end, so there might not be anybody joining us at all. Two, there's NFL football, and that's going to happen, and it's a Sunday. Three, Josue Pavone, our masked man at the upper right-hand corner here, is at the Garden, and he could be told he's got a boogie at any point in time. We don't know how long he's going to be there, but Josue's there covering the Celtics. Josue, this might be, Jimmy was joking about it, this might be worse than the last game you covered, which was the one they sent everybody home because the whole team got COVID.
Oh, it's 1,000% worse because at least that one didn't result in an L. These guys caught an L, and they caught it in a big way. No energy, completely flat. At least Kemba had some energy in that first half. At least he was attacking the rim and wasn't, he was a bit careless with the ball here and there, but that's to be expected. But that's the only good thing that came out of this game was seeing Kemba Walker pass the eye test. And luckily, from the looks of it, he just took a bad shot in the ribs from the Knicks' big man who was just clearing out everyone today. But looks like he's okay. Brad Stevens will give us an update. But yeah, guys, this one was ugly. I think again, remember Friday night when I was talking about how the Celtics they look amazing when the 3-pointers are falling, but when they stop falling, all of a sudden the run runs dry. The well runs dry. Yeah, that's what happened here. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man, like if those 3-pointers aren't falling down, Shemi, Neesmith, I mean, these guys, if they're not giving you those 3-pointers, I mean, the offense it dries up.
Yeah, it's a make-miss league, as the kids like to say, or as we said a lot.
You said that. Yeah, that's right.
As we said it a lot of times during the playoffs when we tried to overanalyze why certain games went the way that they went. We're like, well, they shot 20% from three. This was one of those nights where I'm going to go. I mean, we're going to go well past shooting here. This was maybe the worst effort of the Brad Stevens era of wire to wire for 4 quarters that any team has ever played. They played their worst 3 quarters. I mean, throw away the fourth because that doesn't even count. They played their worst 3 quarters back to back to back, the first, second, and third quarters of the entire season.
Yeah, and you gotta burst the Kemba at the beginning there, like some energy from him in the early portion. You got that pick and roll to go to Thompson, but the sloppiness stemmed from him. They want to get him some time on the ball. They want to get him some comfort.
Oh, you're blaming Kemba now, Bob.
Wow.
Nice.
He was on the whole
back
quarter when they built that deficit.
Nice.
It's necessary. They're going on the road for 9 of the next 11, so it's not going to be practice time to get him integrated. But he had just done a light walkthrough on Thursday, the pregame on Friday. That's all he's done before this. So conditioning's probably not there with him. All the comfort, flow of the game stuff. He was
but the smile was there. The smile.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be fine in time. But
it was so smiley.
This was pretty much just a scheduled loss. We've been trying to get him comfortable. Like this just became a practice for them and trying to integrate him again because nothing looked good. The starting lineup did not flow well around him. The bench unit did better. I think they actually had a positive advantage into the third quarter with the bench unit out there. But man, the starters got outscored by close to 30, and that was the game there.
One quick thing, and Jimmy, I want your initial thoughts, and then we'll get into Kemba. Just one quick note. When you mentioned that starting lineup, I did want to add, and we can get into it a little bit later. I think the return of Kemba here, this clearly signifies the death of the 2 big lineups. So if one good thing came out of this,
they played tonight. They came back.
I know, but they played later in the game, but it didn't start. They started Grant. Obviously, that's going to be Tatum when he slides in there, and that's going to be it. We knew that was going to happen, but it's nice to see it officially that they're probably going to go Kemba, Smart, the 2 wings, and a big with Thompson, and we're going to get into Thompson a little bit later too. But, Jimmy, your initial thoughts. We're going to get into Thompson.
My initial thoughts were, what the hell did I just spend 3 hours watching? I can't believe that we have to come on the show and talk about this game after that performance that we saw. Bobby, one thing I'll say, I thought Jaylen Brown played okay. I mean, especially – he was the only one really contributing at one point. I mean, he had some nice 3-pointers in a row there, kind of kept the Celtics within some sort of striking distance. But other than that, I mean, just a listless effort and performance from top to bottom, really. Josue, are you sure these guys don't still have COVID? I mean, the way they played out there, they looked like they didn't look like themselves. That's for sure.
Yeah, normally for the matinees, we would blame it to, them eating too much food beforehand, but not this one, man. I don't know. Things are light.
Or being out late.
Everyone is sort of.
Or, on the road. They were out at the club. It's different.
Yeah, they're out late on a Saturday night, but, like, what the hell are they doing last night besides going to bed? I mean, what can you do? So, I mean, it was very surprising. I mean, the Knicks are the Knicks. I mean, you've got Randle on that team, but other than that, I mean, you want to talk about Barrett a little bit. You want to talk about Toppin, but this is not a Knicks team that should be blowing anybody out of the water, never mind the Celtics.
Josue, let me ask you, since you're there, and let's kick off the Kemba conversation. On TV, a lot of people thought he looked like he was moving well. You saw him a ton in person last year at the Garden and other games, obviously covering him on the road as well. But, I mean, you saw a lot of Kemba Walker games last year. How did he look in person there where you're watching him moving around?
I thought he looked great. And I wasn't just saying that because of him scoring points. Again, it's always the eye test with Kemba. And that sort of tenacity and that relentless attack, that's the Kemba that we sort of missed throughout the postseason. We saw a little bits of it, right? We saw glimpses of that. But to see that out of the gate and to see it continue throughout, again, it wasn't pretty. It got sloppy at some parts. Tristan Thompson couldn't catch some of his passes. Some of those passes were terrible passes. Either way on either side of the fence on that one. But overall, I just thought he looked great. I just think you see the torque and the movement of that knee. Hey, that knee though, he's getting to the lane. He's not showing any resistance, and that's only going to get better as he gets more reps in.
I don't know about great, but he looked comfortable at the very least. He can twerk. He can make the adjustments, and he can do all the
things
out there?
From him. Yeah, not be twerking out there.
That's about all you saw from him tonight. The shooting's not bad. That worried me. He had some open looks from three that he wasn't able to nail.
But that I'm not as worried.
None of this stuff is crazy worrisome that we saw from them. The injury was when we saw him go down. It was like, it was the knee aggravated again. But he took that hard bump from Noel, and that was the game for him. So like I said, this was basically a scheduled practice for Kemba.
It looked like it too. He was walking around on defense a lot of times too. I mean, it was obviously go in there, get some shots up, get some reps in. Don't press it too hard. Get out. Whatever happens, we'll take it. If honestly 2-3 more shots fall, we're like, okay, that's fine. That was pretty good. You wanted to see him jack shots. I don't care that he missed 10. You want to see him get them. And the fact that a lot of them were open is probably a good sign, because that's what you want. You want him to be able to get his looks, and then you have to hope that they go down. So I'll say on that part, it was positive. On the other, he didn't look like a special. You just looked like another guy. And it's fine. He's rusty. First game back. Everyone else has been playing. They're 15 games into this thing, or 12, whatever. So it's understandable. I mean, he's way behind everyone else right now.
People are looking for pizza talk already.
It's honestly a pizza talk kind of game. It's a pizza talk kind of game. Yeah, I mean,
we should have saved it. We should have saved that whole thing.
Should have started with pizza and then made them beg for us to talk about the game.
I don't think anybody's begging for us to talk about this game, but we have to fulfill our duties and do so. So, John, what's this? You about to trash Tristan Thompson? Is that what's going on?
Am I?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I don't know if I was about to. I just, I don't know if I'm about to.
Okay.
I thought you were.
I feel like
I thought he was too. That's where I was.
I mean, I feel like I think
I had 3 points.
I think
some of those shots he passed up, man. It was frustrating.
I think I'm where I began with Thompson, but it's getting worse as time goes on. And I don't really, what I said about him before the season started was he'll be fine. Not somebody to get excited about. By the end of the 2-year contract, we'll be glad he's gone. I feel like we're almost getting there now. And it's a little early, but like I'm not loving a lot of what I'm seeing out of Tristan. He tries really hard. I'm just not loving a lot of what I'm seeing at this point. And I'm trying hard to see it because I like him.
You are trying.
No, he's putting in a lot of effort and he battles a lot and he grabs boards and he does some things, right. But like, man, like again, catching the passes, inability to finish in close, to get really anything going offensively.
He couldn't get the putbacks to go either tonight. If you get
he's getting the boards and he can't get the putbacks, all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not off to a great start for him so far. What I thought we'd see from him with this team is a game changer on defense, and you're not seeing cohesion and chemistry with him and the other Celtic starters either. So as we get toward this Tatum return, and that could be coming up at some point, probably during the next homestand. They'll go on the road now for 2 games. Doubt Tatum will make that trip. I think maybe you think about rejoining the starters from last year: Kemba, Smart, Brown, Tatum, and Tice. Tice just looks better to start this year than Thompson does, and
so does Robert.
All Thompson's shown so far this year is an energy guy, and Robert's not going to be back either. I still think he's more of a bench energy guy, as Jimmy's talked about.
I know, but if Tice is the starter and Williams is the great energy guy coming off the bench who plays so well with Tatum in that second unit, what's Thompson's role at this point? What's left?
No, it'd still be some minutes for him. I'd rather
some minutes, but again, this is a guy we were getting excited about and saying we're happy they got him plus the TPE instead of a Miles Turner. I'm not going to always make it about Miles Turner, but like we were talking about a guy who's supposed to be more of an anchor. It's not if he's just a rotation big, 15 minutes a game, 2, 4, 5, 6 points, couple of boards.
That sounds like Cantor.
It's like Cantor. Like I said, he's defensive Cantor. Cantor was offense and board. Cantor you brought in when you wanted offense and boards. Tristan is in there when you want defense and boards. But that's it. That's it. I mean, he's as bad offensively at this point as Cantor was bad defensively. It's pretty much a wash, I would say.
I saw some good signs from him early in the game. And what I talked about last night that I was looking for with him was from some pick and roll action, and Kemba actually got him going there. That was what excited me most about Kemba's game tonight, was some of the chemistry he had with the big men, which is one of the best things he showed last year. So that was like the glimmer of hope I saw for him getting more involved offensively. But you said it. The defense is where he needs to lay his imprint. And a game like this, going against a Noel, a Robinson, those kind of guys, when the game's played on the interior, that's where you want him to show up and make a big impact. So I'm not calling it a bust of a signing yet. I still want to see him get to his most condition throughout the year. I know a lot of guys came into this year not at tip-top shape. We're about 3 weeks in now at this point, so he's probably getting there, but there's just not that burst from him. You're right. There's not that athleticism. He can't get above the rim on lobs, stuff like that. Can't get the putbacks to go. It's not great so far. It's not.
Among true bigs, he looks like that guy, the short one, who's playing with his older brothers, and they just kind of tap it up in the air, and he keeps jumping and jumping for it. And he just can't get it. Poor little guy's trying so hard.
A bad putback miss tonight, and they couldn't make anything. This wasn't all about him, but this is a game where you want him to show up.
Yeah, Josue, before we lose you, buddy, what was it like at the game today? I know the last time you were supposed to be down there. That was the day that they shut it all down. Where Josue, so people are wondering why Josue looks like he's using a street light. Josue's at the Garden.
It looks like he's in some underground layer.
There's no Boston Wi-Fi. He's out there. Show them, buddy.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, you just can't see it that way. Let's see what you look like.
I'm under the light.
Yeah, so take us through the day. What's the vibe?
Yeah, Josue's at the Garden. Everyone's worried for your safety. They think you're in an alley about to get stabbed.
No, the vibe was different. I don't know, Jimmy. I don't know how to say it. I just feel like everyone just sort of does their own thing. You just walked in like typical, like go through security.
I was Josue Pagone reporting from the Garden.
Yeah. Thanks, Josue.
Yeah, you go straight to your spot. You got to eat in a different area now. You can't bring food to your laptop, and everyone is just like more like 60 feet away as opposed to 6 feet, But it's nice. I mean, you got all that space. You just don't have the camaraderie and the joking around like we used to do. The ball busting we used to do. Remember, Jimmy? Especially in the cafeteria.
Oh yeah. You see your guy Cedric there today?
I did not, unfortunately. He's VIP, man. He's in a completely different other section.
Yeah, they're in a different spot.
He's got to wear these bracelets that won't let him near people like me,
Well, us regular people, right?
Us regular people, right?
Yo, what
Julian's my spirit animal here, by the
way. VIP media.
That's John's burner, I think.
That's my guy.
True story. Last year, John
made us do my burner.
True story. Last year, John made us do a video comparing Brandon Clark to Grant Williams and like which one's having a better season when it was.
No.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember John wishing that it was Brandon Clark on the Celtics team instead of Grant Williams.
Who doesn't wish that?
Yeah, anyway. That's true.
Hey,
you said it before most people did.
What about during the game? What's that like? And you hear like the shoes and like squeaking and like what's that like?
You hear that, and I like that. I like that about it. The pumping crowd noise it's non-existent. It sounds way better on TV.
You don't hear it at all?
You hear it, but it's so faint compared to the
really?
music.
At Gillette, it's deafeningly loud. It's really weird.
I think in other arenas it's way louder than it is in here.
At Gillette Stadium for the Patriots, when I went to cover earlier this year, a couple times, I was just like, it's distracting. It's weird too because it's so big. But yeah, it's mellow there.
Yeah, but all the timeout, content they still do that stuff, especially because of Martin Luther King Day. A lot of stuff in the bubble. A lot of
which is Monday, Jimmy.
Messages. Yeah, which is Monday, not February. No.
Yeah, that one's
it's a common misconception, Jimmy. Black History Month and MLK on the same month, but no. But the player introductions was a little turned up, a little more to it than I was expecting without the crowd. But
interesting. We're one of the few people in the world who have seen live basketball, man. So congratulations to you.
You know what was interesting though, and I thought was significant in the third quarter when the Knicks came out to that 5-0 run. That was the loudest I heard this place, and it was all the Knicks players just screaming and I'm like, yo, Celtics have to crush that right now because they're gonna build off of that. That's exactly what they did. That 5-0 run, Brad Stevens called timeout 2 minutes into the half, and all of a sudden it was just like, okay, let's stop this right now, and then they just off to the races. 20-point lead, and that was it.
Knicks have some guys. It was surprising how hard they came out here. Jimmy, have you heard of Immanuel Quickley as we test our guys around the league that we know?
Who do you play for?
Who do you play that game? That's about the extent of it.
Yeah, that was a steal for them, it looks like. I think he got drafted by the Thunder, traded there on draft night, 25th overall. That floater was crazy in the third quarter. You got like 4 of them to go in a row over Thompson. That was what impressed me most about them tonight was that guy. He's roaring towards starting minutes. The Knicks aren't bad this year. I know they came in with 5 straight losses, but they bring it to you. Julius Randle's like 27, 10, and 7 right now. He's just been ridiculous to start this year. Is that a TP guy possibly?
I don't know.
Who?
Julius Randle.
People have talked about it.
Good.
He's playing well. Good. He's good right now.
That's really all New York has for a future, Bobby.
He also looks
he's not an option.
If New York just got rid of him for a TPE, like that would be the end of the franchise officially.
Oh, it's a heavy contract for multiple years, so that would be the reason.
I still think people think
it's all they have left,
like made of like gold, like
right.
Like you give it to somebody and they're like all of a sudden like
Thank you so much
for release now for a contract.
Like,
that's why they
literally nothing. It's literally nothing.
Literally nothing. It's actually nothing. Can you give me something for nothing, please? Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Randall's looking really good. Do you guys want anything for him? This is not gonna happen. Sorry, Bobby. We didn't mean to kick you off like that, but when you stay.
Every time you piss off Bobby, bro, there he is. There he goes.
Yeah. Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, come on, man. Julius Randle and RJ Barrett, that's all they have, man. That's it.
That's it.
Well, they'll want space for this. I think they got a little bit of cap space as they try to pursue some guys this summer. They always do, not always successfully. But you're right. They probably want to get something for that if they do end up dumping him. But he's at peak value right now. The way he is starting this year is just crazy. That's a guy the Celtics could have drafted back when they took Marcus Smart. Didn't get off to the best start in LA. Bounced around a little bit. I think he was in New Orleans before this, and then he ends up there. He's been awesome. So.
Well, don't forget, he didn't want to come to Boston, Bobby. He wouldn't even work out for the Celtics, so they didn't really have much of a choice. Yeah, he wanted to go out west, from what I remember, which he did. He went to the Lakers.
Josue, was Romeo out there pregame today?
He was not. No, I saw a lot of Waters though. Actually, Waters came out here postgame. He just got in a couple sprints and then ran. I don't know. Maybe he didn't do something right in practice, so he had to pay for it, I guess. But, yeah, that's...
Are guys shooting around?
No.
No
Romeo. I haven't seen him.
John, you can't put up every comment that you see. Some of them are so stupid. Like, what is Dynasty talking about? What was Dynasty talking about? That comment from Dynasty saying like Jaylen Brown once again didn't show up. Like, what are you talking about?
No, sometimes when I go to punch one, it jumps to another. So I miss.
That had to have been it for that one.
I miss.
Yeah, I think that does happen because I'll see John just take something down right away sometimes.
Yeah, I misfire sometimes.
He's been doing it. It was an okay.
You put the boomer in charge of the comments. All of a sudden, like everything's going all over the place.
I know John's having flashbacks of
here you go again, John. What is that? Like,
I just did it to rile you up.
No, John was having flashbacks of Dunk Hunt. Remember that Duck Hunt with the Nintendo gun? That's what he was doing.
I had Duck Hunt.
Guys,
The timing on that had to be on point.
Duck Hunter.
So the only I'm trying to think of big picture things to take out of tonight. The only thing I'll say is now that they have 4 guards in the fold playing, didn't it feel like Jeff Teague played a little too much early on? He was out there just missing shots, 0-4, threw that pass back on the fast break, 10.5. He was awful again, 0 points in 14 minutes. And this is what we're going to be doing with him. It's going to be 17 one night, 5 games in a row of him shooting, 30% and under. And this is the experience with him. And now that you have Pritchard, Kemba, and Smart, and Brown, of course, I don't see a need to play him.
Yeah, he might be on the outside looking in after the emergence of Pritchard and Kemba's return. Certainly. I mean, he's just a depth guy. He was the depth guy when they signed him, but I think obviously they didn't know what they had in Pritchard. So I mean, I have no issues with the signing still. I mean, it's short money and he's a veteran guy. So I think that, like you said, Bobby, there will be a game where he will be a factor. Probably more than not, he's not going to be a huge factor. But for me, the only takeaway from this game is, like, literally the only takeaway anyone can have from this game is how did Kemba look? And, like, what, as long as he doesn't have any pain after the game and he, can, suit up for the next one and everything else, like, that's pretty much my only takeaway from this game is Kemba Walker's performance or just the fact that he was out in the court. I mean, hand up, I thought he was going to be another month away from even playing. So I'm not going to sit here and criticize him for going 3 for 13.
Apology, Cam.
No, I said no, not yet. I will apologize after a few games. If he sits out, if he had to sit out every year of the game, or if he's not playing minutes, or if he's playing like this every damn game, then I don't think I need to apologize. But I will say that he is back a lot sooner than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, when I said February, I was thinking no minutes restriction, full, ready to go. So maybe I'm off by a week or so, but this is sort of the timetable I had in mind.
It's less than that. Again, the story, this isn't a matter of like trying to duck an apology, Cam. We've seen this story before. Right. We've seen this movie before. Guys come back, everyone's like, see, and then they get shut down again. And then it's like, oh, it's just planned maintenance. It's totally fine. And then they're out for a month and a half. So let's give it. I want to see Kemba play, look something like Kemba, not have any setbacks. And after a month or so, and if he makes it through the year, we'll be like, oh, okay, it was fine. But you have no idea right now, how many times you see a guy come back and then they're like, okay, there was more swelling than we expected, and it's like, oh, here we go again, so that's the next few days actually are the ones that I think are most important. If he comes back, he plays in I mean, they're lucky. They got 2 days off, but before Philly, it's one of those rare 2-day breaks. So you don't have to play again until Wednesday. If the hip thing or whatever it was isn't a big deal, he should come back, but anything pops up, well, he's not feeling great, or we're just going to give him a little more time. Then we're a little worried.
Right. Did they say it was a hip today?
I don't know. It felt like he got hit in the. Where did he get hit?
I thought it was ribs. Like he kind of fell on his ribs or something. Like, I don't know. They didn't end up saying what it was that he hurt, but I guess probably just a bruise or something. They didn't come out with any report or anything like that. Probably could have gone if he wasn't on injury limit. It would be important in those Philly games, though. If we remember the series last year. Him jumping around those screens, hitting the threes against the drop defense. That was all important there. Like I said, I can't imagine Tatum's going in either of those games. So he's got some big ones coming up. Who knows if he plays the second half of that series. Yeah. But it's important that he comes back at this time. 2 things I'll say about his return, though. Interesting that it comes right around MLK Day, which is what I think a lot of teams thought was going to be opening day for the season. That was probably the plan when they started this procedure in October. It was get him back right on time for opening day. So I don't think this was as much him not being ready to go for camp, but they actually had a treatment plan in place for what everyone thought was going to be the start of the season here in January. So that makes me feel good in some regard that everything went according to plan there. I know there's always the bluster in the press conference about how great he feels. He even admitted it at practice. He was like, I know I said I was great before too, but now I'm really great.
Now I'm really great.
We'll see how it goes, but I don't think there's going to be setbacks here. This is all just kind of gone progressively according to plan.
Recapping for the people, Celtics got drilled. Kemba got back. He got hurt. Josue is wearing a mask and in a black backdrop right now because he's at the Garden. So in case you're wondering what the hell's going on, that's what's going on. Brad Stevens talked a couple minutes ago, and again, Joe Sway's at the Garden here. Brad Stevens talked downstairs just a minute ago about tonight's performance. Go, Brad.
I don't believe that's who this team is. I do believe that we have to play really well to win. Our margin's not big. And so I think for the most part, we've done that through the first 12 games. Today, we had a clunker, and you hope to have as few of those during an NBA season as possible, but inevitably you will have a couple. That doesn't make it any easier in the moment. That doesn't make it any easier as you're going through it and watching it, and just like, we just looked like we were in mud today. And credit them, they didn't. And I think that's the gist of it. We talked before the game about every night you're playing a team and what they're capable of and what they are when they're at their best. And when they're at their best and their physicality gets them layups early and they start making shots because they feel good about it. And again, credit them.
Okay.
So this is the stat I had earlier for you, John. January 5th, 2004 was the last time the Celtics shot below 30% in a game.
Yeah.
They lost that game 78-68. You'll never see that happen in the NBA again.
Oh, my God. Yeah, this was 29.8%, 15.2 from three. That's the worst, too. When you take 46 threes, you have mailed it in, okay?
Yep.
That's as bad. That's a sign that you have no interest in being in this game. You're just chucking threes and not working to, for better looks at the basket. I mean, just an awful. I mean, this is, like I said, we said at the beginning, and so much of the focus is on Kemba. How do you play this way? I mean, how do you play this lifelessly? You get Kemba back. I know, Bobby, you're saying it was a scrimmage. Essentially, you're trying to get Kemba involved. Unless you hate him, like, this is how I would imagine a team that didn't want, like, Kyrie Irving to be on it would play once he returned. Like, I hate this friggin' guy, and now that he's back, I don't want to play anymore. And that's not – everyone loves Kemba. Right. So how do we explain this effort?
Well, you got Jimmy. I don't know.
How do you explain it? I can't explain it.
Or maybe you just chalk it up to every once in a while this shit happens. But I mean,
it's not normally this bad, though. This is probably the worst loss of the Stevens era in terms of showing up.
Worst all-around effort, four-quarter effort. Worst all-around four-quarter effort in the Stevens era, I think.
Yeah, and that's not good because, again, you can chuck it up to being a bad game. Blowouts happen. He always says that. You're going to get blown out a couple times a year. But like he says, the thin margins. He keeps saying they're not playing well, even through the good records. He's seeing things that are disturbing to him, even through like an 8-3 start as it was. So was it a little bit of a fluky start to the year? Did they hit a soft patch there with the Detroits and Indianas and other teams to go through? They're a little bit easier than the Bucks and Nets that you see at the start of the year. We'll find out quickly this week because it's the same kind of team in Philadelphia. Huge bodies and playing at an MVP level. If they play like this, they're going to get smoked in both of those games too.
Let's talk about Philly 1 second. I did want to ask Joe Sway just on this game. Joe Sway, what was it like? Again, you're there, so you have a sensory advantage over the rest of us. From a body language perspective, watching them, on the bench, in and out of timeouts, coming on the floor in between timeouts. Did they look down? Did it look, like they were like, was Brad like shaking his head on the sidelines? I mean, we can only see so much.
No, honestly, it looked perfectly normal in terms of people encouraging each other, teammates getting off the bench and clapping. I think the only time I saw Brad sort of snap out of it, or at least try to snap his guys back into it, was after that quick 5-0 run from the Knicks. He called timeout right away. I think a minute had gone off the clock, maybe. It was like the 11th minute mark or so. And he really got into his team. And I think that's when sort of the momentum, or at least not the momentum, but that sort of guys on their feet and clapping and stuff, it got a bit more serious and more intense. Whereas New York, I think, felt that. They picked up on that because they were over the top. It was the most exciting I've ever seen the Knicks in quite some time. But, obviously you hear more when there's no crowd. It's easier to focus on that. I think there was some significance to it, Being here, I think there's some significance to that because it's like, you hear, everyone heard it and saw it, and the Celtics didn't respond to, that Brad Stevens timeout, and that was just effort, in my opinion. Not responding to that timeout was effort.
Yep, that was it. You knew it was over then.
Right.
Another
Because that's when
one.
you're supposed to turn things around, and that's when you see that jolt of energy, and you just didn't see it.
Right.
This was the second worst three-point shooting night in team history when they take at least 10 threes. So, like, the era where you're actually taking threes after the 90s is as bad as it gets.
Yeah. Let's jump ahead a little bit. We got the Sixers. It's a kind of a double dip here for the Celtics.
Huge series. It's a big one.
So it's a pretty
baseball
big
series.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's it's interesting here for the Celtics. I'm not going to say it's been a cupcake schedule, but ultimately, you've had, Washington, Toronto not playing well, Detroit a couple times, Memphis, Indiana, Brooklyn. This hasn't been the hardest, stretch of games to start. It's about to get real.
Right. And that's what I was afraid of without Kemba.
Guys, I'm disappearing for 2 seconds. Do not fret.
Joe Sway, lead the way.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, yeah, no, I was just going to say, that's what I was worried about when Kemba was out.
Was worried about what? The schedule?
And now we have to, the schedule, because the West Coast road trip. Sorry, I had something in my ear for a second. The West Coast road trip, not having Kemba, at full strength, but at least now he's ramping up to that.
Right.
This minute restriction, I don't know how long it's going to stand, but at least going into the that West Coast road trip in February, at least he'll have him at full strength.
Right. I mean, this is a good test for the Celtics because the Sixers, preseason, we all thought that they were going to be one of the better teams in the NBA, and since this, beginning of the season, they've shown that they are. So I know that they obviously believe in those guys over there because they held on to Simmons. They could have they had a potential, a chance to make that trade for Harden. They didn't, so they're ready to go to war. Embiid and Simmons, like you said, Bobby, Embiid playing at a type level this year. And honestly, when you talk about effort, it's always been effort with Embiid too, right? Hasn't that been the big knock on him? Is that he has everything. He has all the capabilities to be, maybe one of, if not the best player in the NBA, or at least like versatile, dominant force that he is. But for whatever reason, and he used to get criticized by guys like Charles Barkley, who criticized everybody, but he used to, basically call him out for his lack of work ethic, let's say. So it doesn't feel like that's been an issue this year. And maybe they've, they're out to prove something just like the Celtics are. So it should be a really good, couple of games.
You mean Charles? We need to cut the line and get everybody vaccinated because we pay
Yeah.
more taxes. Barkley, that guy.
That might be his worst. That's not my. That's his worst take I think I've ever. That's one of the worst takes I've ever heard.
That's who he is, though. That's who Chuck. That's who Chuck is.
I didn't think he was that. I didn't think he was that far off the reservation with.
That's who he is.
But man, that was a
because
wild.
They pay high taxes.
Wildly
That's what he said.
That's who he is. Yeah. Anyway,
and then,
go ahead, Jimmy.
No, and then not to go off on this, but then Kenny was like, so just because they make more money, they get to cut the line. He's like, no, because they pay more taxes. He's like, oh, okay, well they're getting taxed on their income, buddy. So
yeah, right.
What are you talking about?
It is gonna. I'm glad that comes up because it's gonna be interesting to follow that. You hear more and more reporters who are connected. I know we had Ian Thompson on Celtics Beat this week on the network. He floated that out there too. That was actually like the first thing he talked about in the episode is could Joe Biden use this as a campaign? And you hear again and again the talk of NBA players getting vaccinated to instill trust in the process. I don't know if any of us would agree with that necessarily, but you hear it more and more as the weeks go by around the league, around people who are, close to people who know things.
So that would be the
main argument I'll make over it. The one argument I would make over it is in order to vaccinate the entire food service industry, you'd have to vaccinate, and to keep that going and however much money that pumps into the economy, you'd have to vaccinate millions and millions of people. In order to get a sports league going, you need to vaccinate about 500 people. It is a relatively small number. So that argument could be made where you're able to, but again, it's really hard to cut the line over, elderly people, at-risk people.
Exactly.
I mean, if push came to shove and you got to the point where we were at the point where like, okay, phase 3 open to everybody, and then stuff like that starts to happen, it's a little easier to swallow. It's really hard to cut a bunch of 75 and 80-year-old people in line right now when phase 2 hasn't even happened. You're really only looking at frontline workers right now and not even all of them. And, both my parents are over 75. You know what I mean? It's like they're next in line. You know, like it's just
right. I mean,
you've been waiting for these people, that wave of people who are really at risk to get it, and anybody cutting them in line is a really hard sell. I don't care how you put it.
Exactly. We're not stupid. They can try to say, oh, it's to set an example and to like tell people and show people that the vaccine really does work and you should get it. It's like, we're not idiots. We know why you guys are getting the vaccine over to these athletes before other people. It's all about money. It's all about making sure that the games can go on. Like, we're not stupid. So if they try to pull that, I mean, I'm not going to believe it. You guys can believe whatever you want. But like you said, John, there's so many, sick people, elderly people that need to get that vaccine before, 23-year-old professional athletes who are, some of the most physically, healthy people in the freaking world.
Right. All right. Let's put a bow on this because this was a disaster of a game. We do have a couple coming up against Philly.
Can we talk about Tom Brady for a second?
Why?
Well, he's got a game tonight, and I'm a big Tom Brady guy. I mean, what do you guys think about the game?
Rooting against him.
Why?
No, I'm all for
idiotic. It's so stupid.
Yep.
Get 7.
Why would you root against
Bring
him?
home 7.
What's rooting against him gonna
I
do?
don't like him.
Unbelievable.
People are really worried about Josue. I want to remind everybody, Josue is not being held hostage. Josue is at the guard. Show him again, Josue.
No, I just blinked twice because I'm in danger.
Show him again. Okay, we do not have Josue hidden somewhere. Show them. Okay, Josue's at the guard.
I'm right by the Banners kid.
Yeah.
Dude, I think I see 2008.
So much for being on the 4, huh? You're in the sky up there.
I'm good. I'll stay COVID free up here. I don't want to be anywhere near a player right now. No offense.
Oh yeah, they're the dangerous ones right now. They're more dangerous than the outsiders.
I think if a player approached me anywhere, I book it. I go the other direction.
So I got a question, Josue. So what happens when the game ends? Where do all the reporters go?
They all go to their little spots where I am, and they all tune in from their laptop. It's weird.
They tune into the post game show.
Yeah, it's just everyone's so isolated and to themselves. It's different.
Yeah,
it's
Josue on the post game show right now.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They all jump right on.
Yeah. So 2 games against Philly. We'll be back next week for both of those. It should be fun. We don't know the timetable on Tatum. It'd be nice to have him. We don't know what would happen there. So we'll see. I mean, he's gonna be at that 10-day mark by Monday. And again, I don't know what happens there. So we'll see negative tests, whether he's available for one or both of those.
The tough part is he can't travel if he's still in protocol. So, I don't know if they could fly him out for Friday solo or what. It doesn't seem like it.
I bet they can. But we'll wrap it up
Chartered
here. Josue's at the Garden, and he'll have more stuff coming out after the game. Bobby Manning, Celtics blog, CLNS Media, Jimmy Toscano, veteran Boston sports reporter from too many outlets to list, Jimmy.
We'll just go with CLNS.
CLNS now.
CLNS gang.
NBC Boston,
Comcast
Sportsnet. Yeah.
Do you have 8 jobs? Do you really have one?
Yeah.
Kind of like
you got a few. Gross game. Thanks for hanging. Go watch some football. We'll be back Wednesday, Friday in prime time. There'll be some more stuff to talk about. Hopefully Kemba's back. Hopefully Tatum's back. And that's it. Thanks, guys.
And hopefully Tom Brady takes the W.
Yeah. Not going to happen.